hit the subscribe button. Currently only 1.7% of my viewers are. Subscribe once we hit 1,000 subscribers. I'll release an exclusive special video, just for you.
James stood alone in the vast hall, dwarfed by its towering arches and the metallic gleam of the alien architecture. His breath echoed softly, a solitary human heartbeat amidst the cold, unyielding expanse of the Empire's command center. The air was thick with tension, a palpable weight pressing down on his shoulders as he gazed up at the imposing figures before him. Commander Vortin, the stern leader of the Cosmic Empire, lounged on his elevated throne with a smug expression. His eyes, a piercing blue, scanned James with an air of amused superiority. Beside him stood General Kale, his second-in-command, who observed the proceedings with a blend of curiosity and skepticism. The room was filled with the hum of advanced technology, holographic displays flickering with data and alien script. James took a deep breath, his voice steady as he began to speak. "I am James Thompson, envoy of Earth. I come with a message for the leaders of the Empire." Vortin's laughter was a low rumble, reverberating through the hall. "A message? From a planet of primitives? This should be entertaining." Ignoring the taunt, James continued, his gaze unwavering. "Earth is off limits. If you proceed with your plans to invade, you will face resistance unlike any you've encountered before." Vortin's amusement faded, replaced by a sneer. "You dare to threaten us? We have conquered countless worlds, assimilated entire species without resistance. What makes you think your insignificant planet will be any different?" James squared his shoulders, the quiet confidence in his voice cutting through the commander's arrogance. "Our strength lies not in our technology, but in our spirit. Humanity has faced extinction before and emerged stronger. We adapt, we endure, and we fight with a ferocity you cannot comprehend." General Kale leaned forward, intrigued. "What do you mean, human? Tell us of this spirit." James's eyes flickered with a distant light as he recounted tales from Earth's history. "We have faced wars that spanned decades, natural disasters that reshaped our world, and plagues that decimated our populations. Yet, through it all, we have persevered. Let me tell you about my ancestors who survived a catastrophic flood." The hall fell silent as James spoke, his voice weaving a tapestry of resilience and determination. He described how his forefathers, faced with rising waters and no escape, built makeshift rafts from debris, navigating treacherous currents to find safety. He spoke of communities coming together, strangers risking their lives for one another, and a relentless will to survive that defied the odds. Vortin's sneer wavered, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. Kale, on the other hand, seemed genuinely impressed. "Remarkable. But stories alone do not win wars." "True," James conceded. "But they are the foundation of our resolve. Every challenge we've faced has forged us into a species that doesn't back down. You may have superior technology, but you lack our unpredictability, our ingenuity." Vortin leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Enough of this. Your words are empty without proof. We will test your claims." James's heart raced, but he kept his composure. "Then you will see the truth. But know this, every attempt to conquer us will only strengthen our resolve. Every blow you strike will forge us into a harder, sharper weapon." Vortin dismissed him with a wave, turning to his generals. "Prepare the fleet. Let us see what these humans are truly made of." As James was escorted out, General Kale's voice followed him. "You've given us much to consider, James Thompson. Perhaps we have underestimated your kind." James stepped back into the transport pod, the door closing with a soft hiss. As he was whisked away, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope amidst the fear. He had planted a seed of doubt, and now it was up to Earth to prove him right. The pod descended towards Earth, the blue planet looming larger in the viewport. James's thoughts raced, a mix of dread and determination. He knew the coming days would test humanity's mettle like never before, but he also knew that in their darkest hours, humans had always found a way to shine. James stood at the edge of the makeshift command center, staring at the sprawling encampment that had sprung up in response to the imminent threat. The once peaceful landscape was now a hive of activity, buzzing with preparations for the inevitable conflict. Earth's leaders had gathered in a tense meeting, their faces etched with worry and determination. General Alana Ramirez, a seasoned military strategist, approached James with a grim expression. "We have word from our scouts. The Empire's fleet is moving into position. They're planning a test assault to gauge our defenses." James nodded, his mind racing. "We knew this was coming. How are the preparations?" Ramirez sighed, her eyes hardening. "We've fortified key positions and mobilized our best units. But against their technology, it's hard to say how long we can hold out." James's jaw tightened. "We don't need to defeat them outright. We just need to show them that conquering Earth won't be worth the cost." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the encampment, the first signs of the Empire's fleet appeared in the sky. Metallic ships, sleek and menacing, descended through the atmosphere, their engines emitting a low hum that resonated through the ground. The air crackled with energy, tension mounting with every passing second. James turned to Ramirez. "It's time. Let's show them what we're made of." Ramirez's voice rang out over the communication system, rallying the defenders. "All units, prepare for engagement. Remember, we fight not just for our survival, but for the future of humanity. Hold your ground." The initial wave of Empire drones swarmed towards the encampment, their movements precise and coordinated. Earth's defenses sprang into action, improvised anti-aircraft guns and repurposed technology firing into the sky. Explosions lit up the night, a cacophony of sound and light that mirrored the chaos of battle. James moved through the chaos, offering words of encouragement and helping where he could. The defenders, a mix of military personnel and civilian volunteers, fought with a tenacity born of desperation and hope. They used the terrain to their advantage, setting ambushes and traps that caught the drones off guard. In the command center, Ramirez monitored the battle with a hawk's eye, issuing orders and adapting strategies on the fly. "James, we've got a breach on the eastern flank. They're targeting our supply lines." James grabbed a radio and barked orders. "Reinforce the eastern flank. Use the ravine to funnel them into a choke point. We can't let them cut off our supplies." The battle raged on, a relentless ebb and flow of attack and counterattack. The Empire's forces, though technologically superior, found themselves stymied by the defenders' resourcefulness and resolve. James's stories of human resilience were not just words, they were being lived out in real time, every act of defiance a testament to humanity's indomitable spirit. Amidst the chaos, James spotted a figure moving with purpose through the battlefield. It was General Kale, the Empire's second-in-command, observing the fight with keen interest. James made his way towards him, dodging debris and gunfire, until he was close enough to call out. "General Kale." James's voice cut through the din. "Do you see now? This is what you're up against. We may be outmatched, but we will never be outdone." Kale turned, his expression unreadable. "Your people fight with a passion I've seldom seen. But passion alone won't win this war." James met his gaze, unwavering. "Maybe not. But it's enough to make you reconsider your invasion. We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for every species you've conquered, for every world you've oppressed." Kale's eyes flickered with something, respect, perhaps, or doubt. Before he could respond, a massive explosion rocked the ground, sending both men sprawling. James scrambled to his feet, his ears ringing, and saw that a significant portion of the encampment had been leveled by an Empire strike. Ramirez's voice crackled over the radio, urgent and strained. "James, we need to fall back. We can't sustain this much longer." James looked at the devastation, his heart heavy, but his resolve unbroken. "Understood. Order the retreat. We'll regroup and hit them again. This isn't over." As the defenders pulled back, James cast one last look at General Kale, who stood amidst the wreckage, deep in thought. The test had been brutal, but it was far from conclusive. The real battle was just beginning. The retreating forces regrouped at a secondary location, battered but not broken. James took a deep breath, readying himself for the next phase. Earth had shown its resilience, but the true test of their spirit was yet to come. James stood amidst the remnants of the initial battle, surveying the regrouped forces. The makeshift encampment buzzed with activity as survivors tended to the wounded and prepared for the next inevitable clash. The air was thick with a mixture of exhaustion and determination, the pungent scent of burnt metal and earth permeating the atmosphere. General Ramirez approached, her eyes shadowed with fatigue but burning with resolve. "We've lost significant ground, but our spirit remains unbroken." "What's the plan, James?" James glanced at the haggard faces around him, drawing strength from their unwavering gazes. "We hit them where it hurts. They expect us to fight conventionally, but we'll use guerrilla tactics. Strike their supply lines, disrupt their communications, and force them to spread thin." Ramirez nodded, a spark of hope igniting in her eyes. "We have the element of surprise. They'll never see it coming." As night fell, the defenders moved with silent precision. James led a small team through dense forests, their movements a blend of shadows and whispers. The moonlight filtered through the canopy, casting an ethereal glow on the determined faces around him. "Stay sharp," James whispered, his voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. "Our objective is their main supply convoy. If we cripple it, we'll force them to reconsider their position." The team advanced, their senses heightened by the stillness of the night. The convoy appeared in the distance, a line of sleek, metallic transports guarded by alien soldiers. James signaled for his team to spread out, each member taking their position with practiced ease. James crept closer, his heart pounding in his chest. He could hear the hum of the transport engines, the alien guards speaking in hushed, guttural tones. With a silent command, the attack began. Explosions ripped through the night, the convoy thrown into chaos. Earth's defenders emerged from the shadows, their assault precise and relentless. James moved with a fluid grace, his every action calculated and efficient. The alien soldiers, taken by surprise, struggled to mount a defense. Amidst the chaos, James spotted General Kale, the Empire's second-in-command, coordinating the defense with a calm authority. James's eyes narrowed. This was his chance to deliver a message that could turn the tide. James advanced, cutting through the melee, his eyes locked on Kale. As he drew closer, Kale turned, his expression shifting from surprise to recognition. "James Thompson," Kale said, his voice carrying over the din, "You're as tenacious as they say." James didn't falter. "Your invasion ends here, Kale. We may be outmatched, but our resolve is unbreakable." Kale's eyes flickered with a mix of respect and frustration. "You've proven your resilience, but it won't be enough. The Empire doesn't retreat." James stood his ground, his voice unwavering. "Then you'll witness firsthand the cost of underestimating humanity." Before Kale could respond, another explosion rocked the ground, throwing both men off balance. James seized the moment, retreating into the shadows as Earth's forces continued their assault. The convoy was in disarray, alien soldiers falling back in a desperate attempt to regroup. The night's battle ended with a decisive victory for Earth's defenders. The supply convoy lay in ruins, a testament to humanity's resourcefulness and tenacity. James and his team regrouped, their expressions a blend of exhaustion and triumph. Back at the encampment, James debriefed with General Ramirez. "We've sent a clear message tonight. They know we won't go down without a fight." Ramirez's smile was fierce. "We've given them something to fear. Now we need to build on this momentum." As dawn broke, casting a golden light over the battered landscape, James felt a renewed sense of hope. The battle was far from over, but they had shown the Empire that Earth was not a prize easily won. In the command center, James received an encrypted transmission. The screen flickered to life, revealing Kale's visage. "James, your tactics tonight were impressive. But this war is far from decided." James met Kale's gaze with steely determination. "We'll fight for our home with everything we have. And we won't stop until you're gone." Kale's expression softened, a hint of admiration in his eyes. "You're a formidable adversary, James. The Empire has never faced a challenge like this. Perhaps there's more to discuss than just battle tactics." The transmission ended, leaving James with a sense of uneasy anticipation. The war had reached a turning point, and the outcome was anything but certain. Earth's defenders had proven their mettle, but the real test lay ahead. James stepped outside, the first rays of sunlight warming his face. He knew the road to victory would be long and fraught with peril, but he was ready. With every step, he carried the hope and resilience of humanity, a beacon of defiance against the darkness of the Empire. The encampment buzzed with nervous energy as Earth's defenders prepared for what could be the final confrontation. James stood at the center, his eyes scanning the faces around him. Each one bore the marks of exhaustion and resolve, their spirits undaunted despite the odds. General Ramirez approached, her expression a blend of worry and determination. "James, the Empire's main fleet is advancing. This is it." James nodded, his voice steady. "We've shown them what we're capable of. Now, we need to drive the point home. They must understand that Earth will never be subdued." The defenders moved into their positions, each one ready to give everything for their home. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the Empire's fleet descended, casting ominous shadows over the land. The air vibrated with the hum of their engines, a tangible reminder of the power they wielded. James took a deep breath, addressing his forces through the communication system. "Today, we fight for our future. We fight for our families, for our freedom. Stand strong, and let them see the spirit of humanity." The battle commenced with a deafening roar. Earth's defenses, bolstered by the lessons of previous encounters, met the Empire's assault head-on. Explosions filled the air, the ground shaking with the force of the conflict. James moved through the chaos, directing units and offering support where needed. In the midst of the battle, a massive explosion rocked the command center. James stumbled, catching sight of General Kale's flagship hovering ominously overhead. The Empire was throwing everything they had into this attack, determined to crush Earth's resistance once and for all. James knew what he had to do. He grabbed a small team and made his way toward the nearest anti-aircraft installation. "We need to bring that flagship down," he shouted over the din. "It's their command center. If we can disable it, we might turn the tide." The team fought their way to the installation, their progress slowed by the relentless onslaught of Empire drones. Each step forward was hard-won, but they pressed on, fueled by the knowledge that this was their best chance. As they reached the installation, James began coordinating the targeting systems. The anti-aircraft guns roared to life, their projectiles streaking through the sky toward the flagship. The first few shots missed, but the team adjusted, recalibrating their aim with grim determination. "Focus on the engines," James instructed. "If we can disable their propulsion, they'll be forced to retreat." The next volley hit its mark. The flagship shuddered, smoke billowing from its damaged engines. For a moment, it seemed to hang in the air, suspended between defeat and persistence. Then, with a deafening crack, it began to descend, crashing to the ground in a plume of fire and debris. The Empire's forces faltered, their coordinated assault breaking down in the absence of their command center. Earth's defenders seized the opportunity, pressing their advantage with renewed vigor. James watched as the tide of battle shifted, the Empire's once formidable lines crumbling under the weight of human resilience. General Kale emerged from the wreckage of the flagship, battered but alive. James approached him, wary but resolute. "It's over, Kale. Call off your forces." Kale's eyes, filled with a mixture of respect and resignation, met James's. You've proven your point, James Thompson. The Empire has never faced a resistance like yours. James extended a hand, his voice firm. Then let this be the end. Take your forces and leave Earth. We want peace, but we will fight for our freedom. Cale nodded, clasping James's hand in a gesture of truce. I will relay your terms to the Empire's council. You have my word. As the Empire's remaining forces began to retreat, a cheer rose from Earth's defenders. The battle was over, but the war had left its mark on everyone involved. James looked around, taking in the scene of relief and exhaustion. They had won, but the cost had been high. Back at the encampment, James and Ramirez stood side by side, watching the sunrise. The first rays of light symbolized a new beginning, a chance to rebuild and recover. We did it, Ramirez said, her voice tinged with both triumph and sadness. We've shown them what humanity is capable of. James nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. This is just the beginning. We've proven our strength, but now we must prove our unity. We have to rebuild, together. The defenders began to disperse, their spirits lifted by the prospect of peace. James knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but he also knew that humanity's indomitable spirit would guide them through. As the sun rose higher, bathing the land in golden light, James felt a renewed sense of hope. They had faced the might of an interstellar empire and emerged victorious. Now, it was time to forge a future worthy of their sacrifice. James turned to Ramirez, a determined smile on his face. Let's get to work. We have a world to rebuild.